Everybody, Music Man 82 here. Today I'm coming to you with a really fun video. This climb that I did with my friend Chris back in 2012 is probably one of the most difficult and challenging experiences I've ever had in the backcountry. This was a trip where we climbed the highest peak in Montana, Granite Peak, by the Southwest Couloir route, and it was terrifying, exciting, exhilarating, all of those awesome things. I learned a lot during this trip. It was just an amazing outdoor experience. So when Chris and I first talked about doing Granite, we knew right away that we wanted to do the it's the easy route, the main route when you go up from either West or East Rosebud, go up to Frozen Death Plateau and then up the class, it's I think rated 5.4 route. That route is great if you're comfortable in technical terrain. I don't particularly enjoy hauling ropes. I'm not really comfortable with ropes. I will climb some things if other people lead, but generally I like scrambling. So I saw this route was rated class 3. I'd argue maybe it's, there's some class 4 sections unless you find the perfect route. But it was tricky. So we decided, I had attempted Granite once before, which was in 2010. And I tried it by going up by Mystic Lake from West Rosebud Trailhead and then going up the Huckleberry Creek drainage up to Avalanche Lake. And then we were attempting to scramble the endless boulder fields up to the saddle between Tempest and Granite, and we got weathered out and it didn't work. So I'll be posting some of that trip at some point. But this route is really interesting. You start up by Cook City, Montana, and we met up there, and it was Chris and one of his co-workers, Nathan, and myself, and we met up at the trailhead and took off, and you do a bunch of cool lakes up through there, head kind of up north, up Zimmer Creek, and then kind of up on the west side of Zimmer Creek, and then right about where you need to ascend up to Arrow Lakes, you find a spot and cross the creek, and then you ascend one of the hills of death. It's a really brutal climb that doesn't waste any time getting you up to Lower Arrow Lake. And in subsequent trips up to this area, I've determined it's better to go around the north side of the lake. There's more of a trail. We didn't know this at the time, so we stayed on the south side, and it was a lot of boulder hopping, all off-trail travel. We made it around the lower side kind of Upper Arrow Lake, which is where we camped. And it was a really interesting afternoon. We had tons of thunderstorms that just one after another they would come through. We'd get outside and chill out in the sun, and then another one come through. We'd hunker down in the tents, and it was just one of those mountain storm days. Then the next morning, we got up. I think we had alarms set for 4:30 a.m. So it was pretty early start. We had a ways to go to get to the peak. There's one uphill to reach a saddle, kind of just kind of south of the spires, and then you drop down into the Skytop Lake drainage. And so when we woke up in the morning, Nathan wasn't feeling great, so he decided just to chill at camp with the mountain goats all day, and he had himself a glorious day just sitting there while Chris and I went and climbed. So we ended up heading out as early as we could. We kind of got to the peak and to the route somewhere around probably 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. And it was a really difficult route because you're scrambling up this couloir that really narrows as you reach this point. And there was this big hunk of ice that kind of was still in that area. And we were sitting there going, we didn't bring crampons because it was fairly late season. It was already into September, and we were like, everything's got to be melted out. We don't need crampons. And we needed crampons. It was really crazy because we had noticed as we were climbing, there was this other guy coming up behind us, and he eventually caught up to us as we were trying to figure out a way to climb around this area. We couldn't make it work, and Justin had brought carrying ponds, so thank you, Justin. And he was able to kick some steps across the ice, come to the left side, and then you were able to stick your leg between the ice and the rock, kind of get to the top, and then you get to the very top of the ice, you kind of hook your ice axe on top of it, do a one-arm pull-up, and then scramble up onto this kind of wet, slick ledge. And then from then, it was easier going. Definitely sketchy. I know after I got to the top, I was a little bit worried about how I was going to get off that onto the ice thing, but I figured I'd take care of that later. So that route is so loose that we ended up doing a lot. The three of us pretty much just, one of us would go for a while, then wait while the next one went. You couldn't simultaneously travel because you're knocking down so much loose junk, big boulders. And I know people have gotten injured by falling boulders up there. It's a really tough route. And yeah, nothing was really harder than I'd say class 4, but there's a bigger risk factor, I think, in the falling rock. So awesome route. You when you finally get to the top, well, you kind of go to the right for a little bit and then hook a left and kind of do a ridge walk up to the top. The summit was amazing. It's right around 12,800 feet, and it's just a beautiful peak. And there's a reason that a lot of people say it's one of the hardest state high points. It definitely is difficult. My favorite entry in the summit register was, great climb, fantastic views, now how the hell do I get off this thing? And that was very similar to some of the emotions I was feeling at that moment. But we ended up hanging out on top for a little bit and then headed down, and we made it to the tricky spot getting down, and Justin and Chris made it okay. And I was sitting there watching them for a good probably 10 minutes apiece, trying to navigate this tricky section, all the while building up this kind of impending doom kind of feeling, like I really hope, because if you fall on this ice, you're going to go for a 100-foot slide and then crack a leg on the rocks at the bottom. It was definitely dangerous. So I survived it though. We got down. As you'll see in some of the pictures, the terrain was super steep, but it's just a beautiful place. The rest of the afternoon went well. I made a lot of mistakes on this trip, and one of them was that I didn't drink enough water early on and I didn't eat enough food. And if you've never heard of the term bonking, it's a term that outdoors people use when they completely run out of energy and suddenly you just really feel like you can't walk. And I bonked hard on this. There's to get up to the saddle next to the spires to kind of drop down into Upper Arrow Lake, I was just crawling, and I didn't really realize what was wrong, but I was thinking, okay, we'll just make it back to camp. Things are going to be great. I think we made it back to camp about 4:30 in the afternoon, and Nathan definitely wanted to go out that night, and I was kind of hoping we'd stay at camp, and Chris kind of wanted to get out too. And we ended up deciding, okay, we're going to pack up and head out to the car. So after a very quick dinner, I remember I ate some ramen noodles that trip. Got some ramen in me, had a little bit of energy, and we packed up and headed out about 6:30 from our campsite. And it's a lot of miles still back to the car at that point. And we were hiking. I had energy for a while, and then as the last few miles to the car were pretty brutal. I remember whenever the trail would just slightly incline up, I just couldn't do it. And I kept bonking super hard, and of course I wasn't drinking water. I didn't realize what was really happening to my body at that point. We hit the cars at 11:30 p.m. and then the drive back from there to my house, what took a while. I think I hit my house about 2 a.m. in the morning. It's the only time I've ever gotten back to the house, taken a shower, and not had a post-hike beer. I was that tired. So, we've been going for 20, by the time I hit my house, it would have been a 22-hour day almost. But yeah, so I learned a lot of things. Drink a lot of water, even if you don't feel like it. Eat a lot of food, even if you don't feel like it. At altitude, you don't feel like eating all the time, and food doesn't sound good. But if you don't eat, it's a lot worse. And so that was a really great lesson to have learned. It was a rough day to learn it on, but man, I'm so glad that I was able to get this summit. And this is a cool peak because in the last few years, I have been working as a porter for Jacksonville Mountain Guides, and will go up the usual route from the West Rosebud Trailhead up to Froze to Death Plateau and carry loads for clients up there. And so I've gotten to see this mountain from the other side, and it's just a fantastic peak. You'll see some of the pictures are just amazing. So hopefully you enjoy this climb of Granite Peak that Chris and I did in 2012. If you like it, subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. Thanks for watching. Cheers. We are on top of Granite
Granite Peak with Chris and Justin. It's been an epic morning. I'm scared to death to go down. I will not lie. It's been a beautiful morning. There's our route up, or something of it.
Both of those other approaches.